There are times when language lacks the vocabulary to express new ideas and concepts. When this happens, new vocabularies are born to fill the need. Such is the case with Gregory Ulmer's Miami Virtue, a project undertaken by the Florida Research Ensemble, the FREE. Miami Virtue details the exploration of the Miami River area in an attempt of the FREE to use my story methodology to create a Miami from Miami. Gregory Ulmer finds modern vocabulary lacking and invents, or gives birth with us as the gasping, crying surrogate mothers, a plethora of new vocabulary for us to foster into existence. He has a near obsession with the need to create new terminology. Obsession might be an unkind way of describing what Ulmer is driven to accomplish. Like Plato before him, he is struggling with a whole new way of communicating. Plato brought literacy into the world of oral traditions. He had to invent the terms, the rules, and the concepts. The shift from spoken to written word brought about profound changes. Oral knowledge is fundamentally religious knowledge, mystery. The rise of literacy moved Western thought from deific patterns to personal patterns. The self was born. Written knowledge is fundamentally scientific knowledge. Science insists that everything can be dissected, identified, quantified, and qualified. It discounts the spiritual essence of a thing, that which is metaphysical because it can't be measured or identified in science's language. Today's literary scholars see the rise of what Ulmer calls electracy, electronic visual and digital media, as an apocalypse of sorts, in which the human becomes supplanted by the technology they created. We become living batteries for the larger digital system. It is feared that we will lose all sense of self, that which literacy brought to Western thought, in today's virtual reality, all electronic media from TV to internet. A fear that depth of thought and identity will be abandoned for superficiality and sensationalism. What literary scholars and scientists alike miss is that our sense of self-identity has been eroding for generations upon generations. When communities became cities and cities became metropoli, our sense of place expanded beyond our visual range. Place was no longer local or individual. We no longer belonged to something we could identify. The rise of communications technologies and the electracy provides an opportunity to bring place, community, back into focus by allowing a matrix of information and interconnectivity to build virtual communities, some of which may be an extension of physical communities. Ulmer's Miami and Miami can exist symbiotically, allowing for a global reach while reinforcing local interest and character. Virtual tourism is one possibility through imaging technology that allows people to visit a place without leaving home. In the new electracy, artistic expression becomes as important as facts and information. With ever-expanding options in digital communications, conveying knowledge is no longer dependent upon words in a literary sense. Now a mood or epiphanic moment can emerge from a collection of images more easily than the volume of text. Through the virtual community structures of the internet, such as Facebook and Twitter, disconnected members of society can build their own social structures. It can also be used to restore, though in newer contexts, more traditional communities and public involvement. An area of great concern is disconnect felt between the citizen and the government. Modern technology has allowed, and now demands, immediacy in all things. There is no longer the time allowed for social discourse between constituents and their representatives. Yet the internet again provides opportunities for new matrices of communication and connection. Messages can reach a global audience in minutes. Unfortunately, how to use this virtual global theater is not well understood. The My Story, and even electricity itself, draws heavily upon Barth's works and references camera lucida at numerous points. The idea of punctum puts an urgency into the practice of my story, as it cannot be generated purposefully by the photographer or artist, so the practice must allow the greatest opportunity for it to merge on its own. One sad part of Miami Virtue is that it follows an almost purely literary academic model for structure and presentation. The addition of photos to the text feels almost arbitrary, and while the text extols the need for new formats and systems, the presentation utilizes nearly none. The one saving grace of Miami Virtue is the use of hyperlinks to YouTube videos of Gregory Ulmer talking about the project itself. This is the most interesting and clarifying component to the entire project. I learned more from the dozen-plus video clips linked in the first part of the book than from the text itself. In moving toward a multimedia, visual, oral, and textual form of communication, electricity, civilization is in some ways returning to the more oral tradition, but with a modern twist. In many ways we are bringing art, and through art, the human or essential being, back to our sense of self and community. I decided to follow Ulmer's idea that the story rises from the image, and resisted writing first and then finding imagery to match up with my literary effort. Instead, I chose to find imagery that spoke the ideas inspired by Miami Virtue, and then wrote the literary accompaniment to it.